Today we're going to talk about slope and graphing. Slope can be positive, negative, undefined, or zero. A positive slope, just like you read left to right. If left to right, the line is increasing, it's positive. But from left to right, if the line is decreasing, it's negative. Undefined is any vertical line, so all vertical lines. And if a slope is zero, it is horizontal. So all horizontal lines. Let's look at some examples. So if I have a slope of 2, you need to put this into fraction form. So in order to make a whole number into a fraction, you place a 1 in the denominator. You want to start wherever your point is. So this point, let's move this down just a little bit so it's on the line. And you want to rise 2, run 1. So because these are both positive, you're going to go up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. You can repeat this as many times as you want. Go up 2, right 1. You could also, because you know a negative over a negative is the same thing as a positive, you could also go down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1. And create your line. Make sure you have arrows at the end of your line. The phrase in order to complete this is called rise over run. For example, if I asked you to walk to the front or walk to the door, the first thing that you would have to do is rise from your seat. On your second example, my slope is a -3. Remember, if it's a whole number, place a 1 in the denominator. And also remember, I could put this negative in the denominator because -3 over 1 and 3 over -1 both equal -3. So I can either go, if I follow this example, down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1, because this is a -3, positive 1, or I could go up 3, left 1. And it creates a line. One thing you notice from the first example to the second example, the first example is a +2. Your line from left to right increases, so it is a positive slope. In your second example, your slope is -3, and from left to right, my slope is decreasing, making a negative slope. So your direction of your line should match the slope that is given. Once you pause the video and try the third example. Check your answer. You should have gone down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Or, to go in the other direction, up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. It should have created a negative line because you have a negative slope. Now in the next set of examples, you don't have any points on the graph, but it does give one to you. So first you need to plot your point. Remember, it's X, then Y. So I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to walk 2 units to the right, fly 1 unit up because they're both positive. That puts me in quadrant 1. and my slope is a positive 1/3. So I'm going to rise 1, run 3. Remember, I also could do -1 over -3 because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I can go down 1, left 3. And you need to repeat this as much as possible until the graph runs out. In the second example, -4, -2. So start at the origin, walk 4 units to the right, and then fly down 2 units. Creates your point. Now your slope is a -2 over +1. So I'm going to go down 2, right 1, or up 2, left 1. Creates a negative slope. Make sure you have arrows on the ends of your lines. Pause the video, try the third example. Check your answers, ask your teacher if you have any questions. Now let's look at some more practice. On the next page, the directions say, start at the indicated point and move the slope. Repeat the pattern until you go off the coordinate grid. One letter that represents slope is M. So M equals 2/5. M equals slope. So I'm going to start at my point and I'm going to rise 2, run 1. So rise +2, run +5. And repeat. Go up 2, right 5. This creates a positive line. Draw your arrows and your line. M equals -2/3. Your negative can go with the 2 or with the 3, but not both. So I can go down 2, right 3, or up 2, left 3, and this will create a negative graph. Remember in the previous page, we talked about a 0 slope and how they were always horizontal. So I have my point. I'm just going to draw my line straight across. Where if the slope is undefined, I'm going to go through my point and it's going to be a vertical line because it's undefined. Pause the video, try 5, 6, 7, and 8. Check your answers with the following problems. Ask your teacher if you have any questions. Now turn 2 pages in your notes. Let's look at finding slope and y-intercept from an equation. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. The b stands for the y-intercept and the m stands for slope. Anytime you have an equation in this format, you can graph a line. So let's practice identifying what the slope is and the y-intercept. So in this case, the slope, which is the coefficient of the x, is 2, and the y-intercept, which is the constant, remember to include the sign in front of it, is 5. For problem 2, your coefficient of x, or the slope, is 2/3. Your y-intercept is -6. In example 3, your slope is -3 over 5, and your y-intercept is 8. Pause the video and go through and finish this page. Check your answers with the following problems. Let's talk about 16 and 17. There is a phrase called hoi vux that helps you remember the difference between the horizontal and the vertical lines along with their equations. So for example, if we label all of these, the H stands for horizontal. It's going to be a horizontal line with a 0 slope, and it's going to be a y equals equation. And it also cuts through the y-axis. The rest, the V stands for vertical line, an undefined slope, and it is an x equals equation that cuts through the x-axis. So in 16 and 17, this is y equals 5. Well, a y equals equation is going to be a horizontal line, and it's going to cut through at the y-axis at 5. So it's horizontal, so it's a 0 slope, and your y-intercept is going to be 5. Or on number 17, it's an x equals equation, so it's going to be a vertical line with an undefined slope. That's going to cut through 3, 4, 5. At the x-axis of, in this case, -7. And there is no y-intercept because it does not cut through the y-axis. Turn the page. Now let's put it all together. Here's your slope-intercept formula, y equals mx plus b. My m, or my slope, my coefficient, is 2. My b, or my y-intercept, is at -3. So since you're not given a point to start on, you need to focus on your y-intercept. Y-intercept is where it crosses at the y-axis. So in this case, it's going to cross at -3. Now my slope is 2, or in other words, 2 over 1. So I'm going to rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. Draw your line and your arrows. Let's try a second example. My slope for y equals 1/2 x plus 2 is 1/2. My y-intercept is 2. Start with your y-intercept. That is where it crosses the y-axis. In this case, it is at 2. And then I'm going to rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Or go down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. In our final example, -2/3 is our slope with a +5 as our y-intercept. Start at your y-intercept. It crosses the y-axis at a +5. Then it goes down 2, right 3. Down 2, right 3. This creates your line with your arrows. Pause the video and try the rest of the page. Check your answers with the following problems. If you have any questions, ask your